Hi, welcome to the bathtub, where when you see this iconic puppy and hear that iconic music, you know it's time for the only show on the interweb that doesn't let you listen to the cool music because we're afraid we're going to get sued. It's Puppy Noir. All you people who've been watching the show for like decades know this is the Puppy Noir. It features a puppy. It used to feature a puppy. Now it just features Lucky. And Lucky doesn't want to do these shows anymore. But she's part of the it's the gat firingest, gal lovingest show on the interweb about Puppy Noir, and Lucky's a hard-eyed gal from the wrong side of the tracks who likes her bourbon like she likes her men rough. That's the new joke for the Puppy Noir show. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go now, Lucky. I've had a terrible week trying to do this. I'm way behind on doing these stupid shows because no one's been clamoring. No one's been beating down the door asking me to do them. By the way, I just feel it's obligation to do these shows. And Lucky can come up for a minute. And one of the reasons I was having trouble is I kept trying to do the Puppy Noir thing, and Lucky doesn't want to do it anymore. She's like, when your kids get too cool, that you're not cool to hang out with anymore. She doesn't even want to do this anymore. And then when I was trying to get her, I'd either try to get her up here, get the music going. Then the damn bird would start making so much noise. I filmed this like 3 or 4 times. I don't even remember what I was going to talk about, but I didn't have anything to talk about anyway. Anyway, this is Puppy Noir. We have some sad news here in the bathtub. Here's my gigantic martini glass. You'll notice something horrible's happened. I made a super giant martini because I got to do like 3 or 4 of these stupid shows in a row. I'm going to be wearing the same shirt. I'm going to look exactly the same for like a week or 2. Okay, and it's just one day. I'm not actually wearing the same shirt for weeks. My wife gets worried about that part. I was going to say it's a sad day at the bathtub. We've said goodbye to our floral pattern martini glass. You might actually, I think you'd send the kids out of the room because this might upset some of them. A lot of our bathing buddies were raised with the floral pattern martini glass, which was the same glass that Philip Marlowe used in The Big Sleep. Exact same, it was a facsimile of that iconic martini glass. And in a drunken rage, no, I didn't. It wasn't a drunken rage, but I did not throw it against the wall. I was actually washing it, and I leaned it on the wrong thing, and it crashed into a million pieces. So Lucy's going to have to go to some of the exotic places we shop at, like TK Maxx, and find me another one because it's very upsetting. Don't tell the kids. Again, no, those kids. A lot of our bathing buddies were raised with that since for the past 15, 20 years. Now that's enough of that. I'm talking about 2 books for Puppy Noir. I've almost completely forgotten why I was going to talk about them because I read them weeks ago. I've been working on a bunch of long essays and then I forget what I was reading, and then I read stuff just for fun and then I forget it. The 2 books I wanted to read I was doing kind of background on a couple of writers, is I read Bulldog Drummond by Sapper. Okay, Bulldog. His real name was H.C. McNeil, and I think he was some old gentleman soldier in England or something. I haven't looked this. I forget. Well, I looked this stuff up on Wikipedia and I forget it all. But anyway, this was a big, kind of one of the first of the detective novels. Many people think this was one of the earliest detective novels. And the other one was John Buchan. And I read the 39 Steps. This is a kind of cool edition, isn't it? That's a Penguin edition of there's 5 Richard Hannay novels that John Buchan wrote. And they were kind of some people consider the beginnings of the spy novels. Lucky, I'm going to have to get you down because it's now you want to be here all week. She just didn't want to be here. The most famous novel that he wrote was the 39 Steps. So many of you will know the 39 Steps from Hitchcock. Now there's not a lot that's similar between the real 39 Steps and the Hitchcock movie. The Hitchcock movie, the similarities is there's a guy running and he's being chased for a long time across landscapes. That's kind of the 39 Steps. But he's not running with a woman. He doesn't have a girlfriend hooked up to him. And there's no puppets and there's no that ventriloquist. But what the idea is, it's just like before World War One, and it starts off with this guy named Richard Hannay, who's kind of this gentleman. He used to work in the mines, I think, somewhere in Africa, and he's kind of expert at blowing things up. And at one point in the book, he blows something up. It's kind of a cool scene too. And basically, some guy moves in next door and warns him that the terrible people. Now, the middle class in England, or you call these this sort of gentleman class here, they all were terrified that anarchists were coming and union activists, basically the evil people in both of these books, are union activists and foreigners. Foreigners and union activists are coming to destroy England and give everybody good pay at their jobs. So if you push that out of your mind, you might. That's true of James Bond, by the way. The James Bond books are the exact same. They're very similar to these books. So that's a long-winded way of saying that this character of Richard Hannay, at the beginning of the book, is kind of a gentleman in London, and he meets this guy who warns him that they're trying to kill some East European and start World War One, and this is before World War One, and somehow he gets some information, which I forget what it is now, and he has to run because all the evil foreigners and union activists are coming to get him and find out what's going on. So he basically runs across England, and I'll have to say, I read this years ago in college for a class about spy novels, and I sort of read it as an academic, and I wasn't that excited by it. I picked it up the other day, about 2 weeks ago, just to check out the first chapter, see what was going on. I got totally hooked. I found it really a fun read. It was just a lot of writers. Graham Greene loved John Buchan. Ian Fleming loved John Buchan. I think Yves Lenoir used to love, a whole generation of English writers and American writers loved this guy, and I sort of I understood the pleasure when I was reading it just this last week. What else can I say about that? The one that's sort of interesting about this guy, Richard Hannay, is when he's running around England and being chased, there's all these weird coincidences. Like he ends up, this happens in the Hitchcock movie, he's running and he hides in the house of the evil mastermind who's trying to have him killed. Just a completely ridiculous plot twist. But along the way, he learns he can disguise himself as anybody by picking up an accent, maybe ruffling his hair a little bit, and he doesn't have to transform his appearance like they do in Mission Impossible. All he has to do is kind of prevent certain convincing traits, and people are willing to believe he's another person. It's a really interesting premise, and he uses it many times in this book, and I suspect he uses it in the sequels, which I will probably read because I really did get a kick out of the 39 Steps. Again, totally different from the movie. It's a fun kind of throwback to the beginnings of a certain type of spy novel. Bulldog Drummond is kind of I'd always just heard about him because so many people loved him. He was a big influence on some of these same people I just mentioned. I'm sure that Greene and Ian Fleming definitely liked Bulldog Drummond. I really miss those floral patterns. And he's sort of a detective. And again, what happens is some foreigners move in next door. Really worry about that. That's true in Ian Fleming. There are always foreigners, people, especially mixed race foreigners. And so there's a bunch of different foreigners living next door, and they're kidnapping some guy. And Bulldog decides he's going to help this young lady. So there's a Bulldog Drummond girl, like a Bond girl, who he's going to try to help. And he starts investigating what these guys are doing, and they're all hooked up with. Again, I was going to read a passage, but I won't really bother. They're trying to get the Duchess of Lampshire's pearls for some reason, and they're trying to Bolshevize England by giving. They want to give stuff to they're members of the Do No Work and Have All the Money Brigade, as Bulldog calls them. So they're people who want, union guys who want to get money for not doing any work, which is of course what unions are all about. Anyway, there's this weird class vision of the bad guys in this book. At the same time, this kind of boys' adventure going on, which is where Bulldog keeps getting trapped by the bad guys, then he escapes, and they catch him again, and then he runs away, and he's being attacked by people in his house. Like there's a pygmy with a blowgun shooting. He comes home as a pygmy with a blowgun shooting darts at him, and there's a gorilla in there. It's a ridiculous sounding book, but it's kind of fun. And the whole picture of Bulldog, who's this very gentlemanly guy. He's the sort of guy, like when they're torturing him, he's making clever quips and so forth. Both of these books, I started thinking, I'm just going to get an idea of what these books are like. And I actually say I enjoy both of them. The Richard Hannay better, the John Buchan better than Bulldog Drummond, but they're both worth checking out, and there's certainly big influences on a lot of the detective novels, particularly of the 30s and 40s and 50s that come after them, the espionage novels. Okay, that's it. That's Puppy Noir without the puppy. She's pissed off somewhere, And I'm going to do 2 or 3 more of these fairly quickly, wearing the exact same shirt and drinking the exact same martini. Okay, stay safe. Happy bathing.